Hey everyone, how's it going? So you guys seem to really enjoy my Pokemon Generation 2 speedruns, and while I don't think I'm going to do every single Pokemon, doing the legendary Pokemon has been pretty fun. Thus far, we've done the legendary birds and the legendary beasts. Despite some major differences between them, we're dealing with about level 68 and about a 7-hour run to complete the entirety of Pokemon Gold and Silver, including Red, who is very difficult. Well, as you could tell by the thumbnail and title, today we're going to see how much better a Mewtwo can be. Mewtwo was the undisputed king of Generation 1. Although by time it isn't super great, which to be honest is more a function of it being the 7th solo run I've ever done, nowadays it'd probably be much better. And the truth is, for Psychic Pokemon, Red and Blue is just very easy, but the big thing that stands out is the level. Mewtwo was able to beat the game at a far lower level than any other Pokemon. But enough about Red and Blue, let's talk about Pokemon Gold and Silver. Mewtwo's stats haven't really changed much. I mean, the special attack, special defense split hurts Mewtwo a little bit, but where Mewtwo is the most different comes down to its move pool. It's still very good. However, in Pokemon Gold, Silver, Crystal, Mewtwo does not start off with Psychic like it did in Red and Blue. And that's going to make earlier battles a little less quick than they were back then. In fact, if you look at its moveset closely, you'll note that Mewtwo doesn't get Psychic until TM, which is in Kanto, or level 66, which I hope Mewtwo never has to get to. So at least for the Johto section, we will likely be without any Psychic move better than Confusion, which is a little bit annoying. It doesn't even get Psybeam. Still, it's a frickin' Mewtwo, so let's get started. The first thing to do is get a statistically decent Mewtwo. I can't guarantee a perfect Mewtwo, but by looking at its stats, I can tell whether it has good attack, speed, special defense, and although this does take some tedious resetting, in the end I got a very good Mewtwo. Now that I have the Mewtwo I want, there's only 2 mandatory battles prior to Falkner. The first rival battle, as well as youngster Mikey, both of whom are extremely easy. Now, in theory, we could proceed straight to Falkner, but we're not going to, due to a couple rules I established to make these runs a little bit more consistent and frankly a lot less annoying for me. The first, even though it's not mandatory in Gen 2, in Heart Gold Soul Silver this is mandatory, but we're gonna go through Sprout Tower and get Flash. Generation 2, you can't see the walls or anything like you could in Generation 1 to navigate in the dark, so to avoid having to memorize and slow down all the time, which would throw off my whole timing system, I just made Sprout Tower mandatory because, well, if every Pokemon has to do it, it's consistent. The other rule you might notice is we're not going to use Hidden Power. It just makes runs way too inconsistent because I have no way of knowing what my Hidden Power is going to be, and if it's really good for some Pokemon, it can make a massive difference. For those longtime fans who might be confused and ask, why did you use Hidden Power in other runs? And the answer basically is that in those runs, I was just seeing if it was theoretically possible to beat the game. In these, we're comparing speed, and we want to keep the runs as similar as possible. Having said all of this, we're ready to fight Falkner, and the fight, like many in this run, is very anticlimactic. All we need to do is use Confusion on the Pidgey. We're at level 11 and we learn Barrier, which we don't need. Pidgeotto is a 2-shot, but yeah. Didn't do very much to us. Our stats are all very good, so we're not going to struggle too much. The only gym leader we may have a bit of an issue with is Bugsy because Scyther's Fury Cutter is in fact super effective. Psychic type isn't quite as overpowered in Generation 2. Having said that, it's still a Mewtwo. We don't one-shot Metapod, which is a little disappointing. We level up, and Scyther is going to be a 3-shot. Unfortunately for Scyther, it misses with Fury Cutter. And so this battle was even easier than it otherwise could have been, but nonetheless, we were always going to win on our first try. Thus far, we haven't lost yet. As we proceed to Goldenrod, you should note I'm avoiding every single trainer that I can, and using repels. So see there, I accidentally walked in front of her. She would be easy to defeat, but why waste the in-game time? I also forgot to repel there. Slight time loss, #inefficient. But this wasn't exactly what I was doing with the legendary birds or beasts. A lot of them really struggled with Whitney. Mewtwo, I don't know if it's going to. It's definitely going to be underleveled, but you'll see that I have gone into the Pokemart and I've bought Ice Punch, Fire Punch, and Thunder Punch. This gives me amazing coverage, and as far as I'm aware, for the foreseeable future, are the only moves Mewtwo is going to need to sweep through all of Johto. At least that's what I'm thinking right now. Now, against Whitney, I opted not to heal. I'd taken a little bit of damage, and I thought it was going to be fine. Unfortunately, Clefairy did more damage than I was anticipating, and then Miltank didn't get confused, and unfortunately, Confusion was a 4-hit KO. So I had lost to Miltank, which really annoyed me. Our first loss of the entire run. Of course, the very next battle, we get 0 damage from Clefairy. And while you might mistakenly believe that's why we won, it's not. I had a berry equipped, so we would have won regardless. All I needed to do during that first battle was heal right away, and I got a little overconfident, so it's good to know Mewtwo isn't completely invincible in Generation 2. Another good example of this is Morty, and unfortunately, I don't have a timestamp for Sean because I didn't save before. I figured this would be easy, but it wasn't necessarily easy. Had that Gengar landed Hypnosis, while Dream Eater is resisted, Shadow Ball is super effective, and while Gengar's attack may not be super high, a few hits while we snooze could have resulted in a loss. Thankfully, we got the 40% Hypnosis miss, but this is another perfect example of me being a little too cocky and not completely respecting my opponents. This trend would continue for Chuck, but in Chuck's case, I really don't think I need to worry too much about his Pokemon. He leads with Primate. My Mewtwo is at the same level because we beat all the trainers in the Lighthouse. You have to do that anyway. And Thunder Punch and Confusion do the same. It would have been bad if we were put to sleep again, and I don't have the Mint Berry because there's an optional trainer there. Thus far, I definitely think our luck has been a little above average. I don't know if we lose necessarily if we get put to sleep, but it definitely would have slowed us down. Thus far, except for the loss to Whitney, which was avoidable, Mewtwo has swept through the entire game, which is both expected but also somehow simultaneously impressive, at least to me. After giving Jasmine the secret potion, we then go to battle her, and this is why we have Fire Punch. This is probably the only reason I think we have Fire Punch for Steel-type Pokemon like Magnemite, and it does one-shot. I'm a little worried about Steelix. I'm not sure if it will. It's 7 levels higher than me, and we get a pretty lucky burn. However, again, we do still win without that burn, and because of the burn animation, it probably ended up costing us time. Grr, I guess. But that is now 6 gym badges with only 1 loss. Cool stuff. But now the run is going to slow to a crawl. Nothing here is particularly difficult, but no matter if we have a Mewtwo or a Togepi, we need to battle all these trainers in the Rocket Hideout. There are a few that are optional, but the vast majority of them are mandatory, and this just takes a lot of time. This is why when we save in front of Pryce, we're already at 2 hours 21 minutes. We're almost ready to go beat the Elite Four in Red and Blue. Which, to be fair, we're almost ready. Seal, we use Thunder Punch, that's pretty easy. Dugong, we go for Thunder Punch, it's going to be a 2-hit KO. And then finally, Piloswine, another reason Fire Punch is useful, but it doesn't one-shot, Blizzard misses. An unfortunate Hyper Potion there, but we get a lucky crit. And we're at level 33, onto the second Team Rocket section, which isn't very notable, but I will talk briefly about the rival battle in the basement. So this rival battle's notable for a couple of reasons. The first is that he's going to be using a Sneasel, which is a Dark-type Pokemon. Thankfully, it's also Ice-type. But the other thing that's somewhat noticeable is that we don't one-shot Feraligatr. The problem is, it just doesn't matter. Even if we don't one-shot things, it just makes the battle take slightly longer. We still really have such good defense that we can win regardless. And you'll notice I don't start at full HP. One of the big ways Mewtwo can save time over the other legendary Pokemon is how little it needs to save. By getting access to the elemental punches, each of which has 15 power points, and then Confusion with 25 power points, we have more than enough to spare, and we're strong enough to tank attacks even if we run out of the optimal move. Less healing means less time, means faster run, and the run is progressing pretty fast. That said, this isn't a perfect strategy because against the final Rocket member, who has the Houndour and Houndoom, we have such little HP that Houndoom's bite is able to knock me out. This sucks because it's a second loss, but it's also why I use in-game time because that was silly. I have both a Super and a Hyper Potion, and after using my Hyper Potion I realized a Super probably would do, And sure enough, I was correct. We had more than enough HP with a super potion. In fact, even if I just had a regular potion, we would have tanked Bite, but is what it is. 2 losses, tons of wins. Let's go to Claire. But it's at this time I want to give a massive shout out to today's sponsor, War Thunder. War Thunder is one of the most comprehensive vehicle combat battle games ever made. It allows you to take command of over 2,500 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships of 10 major nations. You can experience taking command of older vehicles from the 1920s, such as the biplanes and armored cars of the day. But if you're interested in modern technology, don't worry, War Thunder has you covered there too. The game's combat could best be described as intense. The vehicles are insanely detailed, the graphics realistic, and the sound effects authentic. This allows you to feel like you're being fully immersed in this combat. War Thunder has a worldwide community of over 70 million players. You can take part in epic PvP battles and delve into the breathtaking experience that is War Thunder. Unlike other military simulation games, these aren't simple boxes with hit points. Every vehicle is intricately modeled down to its individual components, like its engines, fuel tanks, weapon, and crew. This means any damage done to the vehicle behaves like it would in the real world, and not just causing a bar to go from green to red. Additionally, if you're like me and enjoy customization, War Thunder has you covered here. There's a comprehensive customization system with countless camouflages, historical markings, and other decorations for your vehicles, including community-created ones, and these aren't purely aesthetic. These can give you an edge in the heat of combat. If you're a fan of military history, there just isn't a better game for you. There is so much high-quality content to discover, and best of all, it's available now for free on both PC and consoles. So if you want to sign up, please click the link in the video description or pinned comment. There is a massive bonus pack available for new and returning players who haven't played in at least 6 months on all platforms using my link. You'll get the Vehicle Decorator Eagle of Valor, 100,000 Silver Lions, and 7 days of the premium account. However, make sure to click this link now because this is available for a limited time only. By the time we get to her, we're at 3 hours, 16 minutes. Slower, almost, than the total time for Mewtwo in Gen 1, illustrating just how much slower Generation 2 is, even if we were to stop playing at the Elite Four, which of course we're not going to do. We Ice Punched the 3 Dragonair, knocked them out in 1 hit. It's unfortunate that Kingdra is going to be a 3-hit KO, and because it has a Hyper Potion, it's near a 5-hit KO, and in fact, if it had a second Hyper Potion, it actually would have won, which would have been very, very, very bad, and I'm not sure exactly what I would have done, but it doesn't. So that one was scary, but a win is a win, and we're ready to proceed to the Elite Four, actually. The only gym leader to defeat us is Whitney, which is pretty funny because Whitney is known as the hardest gym leader of Gen 2. Usually a bit of a misnomer, but hey, turns out to be true against Mewtwo. And I will say, the Elite Four isn't the most favorable for Mewtwo. Sure, we get Bruno and Koga fighting in Poison, but we have a Psychic type, and perhaps the most scary, a Dark type Elite Four member. How are we going to deal with that? Let's find out. So, against Will, we have Thunder Punch for Xatu, which is pretty good, and the second Xatu, same thing. For Jinx, we have Fire Punch. For Executor, we also have Fire Punch, and for Slowbro, we have Thunder Punch. Each one is a 1-hit KO, I wasn't sure if it would be, but Will turned out to be pretty easy. As for Koga, not entirely worried. Confusion one-shots Ariados. Fire Punch, after Fortress stops protecting, will knock it out in 1 hit. The next Pokemon is Venomoth, and either Fire Punch or Confusion would knock it out. Muck, we go for Confusion. It does survive. It goes for Minimize. Thankfully, we hit. And Crobat, I was a little scared. I went for Thunder Punch. It went for Double Team and then Full Restore. This could get bad. It's going to be a 2-hit KO. But once again, the luck is in our favor. We don't miss. And at level 47, we're proceeding to Bruno. Now, they say you don't talk about Bruno. No. Yeah, we're not really going to talk much about him. We one-shot each one of his Pokemon, it seems. Machamp may be the exception to that, and it was. Rock Slide even crits, and with the Max Potion, we're going to have to hit it a bunch of times. But after knocking it out, I'm pretty sure we knock out Hitmonchan, and then the final Pokemon, Hitmonlee, No chance, siree. Whatever. Now is where things are gonna get a little dicey. My strategy is to use a protein to heal and to teach Dynamic Punch. Now, Dynamic Punch is a 50-50 fighting move, and Mewtwo has pretty good attack. The plan is to hit Umbreon and avoid getting our accuracy lowered. I go for it, miss, accuracy lowered. Go for it, confused. Ugh. Hit myself in confusion, feint attack. Hit. Oh, that's actually surprising, and it's not a one-shot, which is really annoying. We're at below half HP, and I misclick. I meant to go for Fire Punch, but Dynamic Punch hits again. I think that's like a 35% chance, or maybe a 40% chance. Not exactly sure. We knock it out. Murkrow, I go for Thunder Punch. We knock it out. This is going to be dicey. Houndoom, I go for Dynamic Punch as a wish and a hope, and I can't believe we just landed it, but I meant to delete Fire Punch, not Confusion, so it was a two-shot, but then Gengar helps me out by using Curse, and now we have the final Pokemon, but we miss with Fire Punch. Curse takes effect, but Stun Spore misses. We then hit with Fire Punch, and even though Vileplume is bulky, we knock it out, and we have first try victoried the Elite Four. There is nothing Lance, likely, is going to be able to do to us, I think. I hope? Nah, we should be fine. Gyarados, we have Thunder Punch. I did forget to use an Elixir, which is a little annoying, but I don't need Dynamic Punch. Ice Punch, more than enough for Dragonite. That's one down. Next, Dragonite, Ice Punch. So all I have to worry about is Aerodactyl, which is coming out here. Went for Ice Punch, knocks it out. Now Charizard, I go for Thunder Punch. It survives, but like I thought, this was completely free. We beat Lance easily, and that's it. The entirety of Johto defeated, and we're just going to skip ahead to see my Hall of Fame time. We know I'm at level 50, the same level I defeated the Kanto Elite Four, and we're at 3 hours, 57 minutes. So about half an hour slower. Not terrible, but consider Mewtwo is the fastest Pokemon. For other Pokemon, that half hour is probably a lot longer. After defeating the Elite Four, the next thing we have to do is defeat Kanto. And you might assume this would be trivial, and it would have been if not for a couple very obnoxious mistakes that I made. Now, I harp on Lieutenant Surge a lot, but he absolutely destroys me. And why? Because I forgot to pick up a Paralysis Cure Berry, and I forgot to keep Confusion. If I did, I'm pretty sure we would win. Although, if I deleted Fire Punch like I was supposed to, I wouldn't have it for Magneton there. But the Paralysis Cure Berry is what I needed, and without it, Surge didn't just beat me once. He didn't just beat me twice. He technically beat me thrice, because it was on this third battle that I reset and realized that although I wasted a little bit of time coming in the gym, I could just battle him a lot later. And after we got the most important EM Mewtwo could ever get, Mewtwo's best move, Psychic. Now with Psychic, everything should be pretty easy, including Surge, and since we have to come back to Vermilion anyway, there wasn't actually a big reason to battle him now. Erica we defeat quite easily. We have Psychic, we have the Elemental Punches, and not a single Pokemon can survive a single hit. 4 hits, 4 knockouts. That's the way Kanto gyms normally go. Next is Janine, and it's 5 hits, 5 knockouts. Easy stuff. Next, as we save in front of Sabrina, it's already been 4 hours, 21 minutes. And while I could use Shadow Ball, I need the moves I have for now, so I have to rely on Thunder Punch and Ice Punch. But thankfully, while it takes more than 1 hit, we do knock things out, and Alakazam we even get a crit, which is pretty good. For those of you who haven't played Gen 2, there's a very annoying side quest involving a machine part, and so I have to go to Cerulean anyway, and I battle Misty. Golduck is 1 hit, Starmie is 1 hit, Quagsire is 1 hit, but Lapras isn't. Isn't that surprising? Thunder Punch, by the way, slightly stronger than Psychic. With same type attack boost, Psychic is 135 base power, and Thunder Punch is 150, so it really just didn't one-shot. Good for Lapras, maybe the last one that does that in a while. Now, I'm sure Surge is overconfident, but just like the Oilers after coming back from a 3-0 deficit, he needs to remember who the true champion is. That is correct. I may look like a psychic cat thing, but I'm indeed a panther. Although I deleted Fire Punch, so I have to go for Dynamic Punch and I get a first turn hit. And if I didn't, like the Panthers, it would have been scarier than it should have been. Hockey reference! But anywho, we beat Surge pretty quickly. There's only 3 gym leaders left. I know, it's so sad. I know you guys are gonna miss me. Graveler is Ice Punch, Omastar is Thunder Punch, Rhyhorn is Ice Punch, Onix is Ice Punch, and Kabutops is Dynamic Punch. No, I'm kidding, it's Thunder Punch. Alright, now, Blaine time. Blaine only has 3 Pokemon. Macargo, we don't have a super effective move, but we don't need one. Psychic one-shots. Magmar, Psychic one-shots. And then Rapidash maybe will tank it. It doesn't. Alright, let's go battle Blue, who might actually be genuinely difficult. Normally, I'd just skip to Blue, but since this run is going fast and I lost to Surge, I figured you guys might want to see if there's any other surprises. Surprisingly, there wasn't. So we're at the same level as Pidgeot, and we don't one-shot it. It also mirror moves. This is why the game gets harder at this point. 1 second, I need to focus. Thunder Punch, we get a paralysis. That was pretty lucky. Don't really think it could have done much though. Rhydon, we have Ice Punch. We knock it out. You might wonder why I still have Dynamic Punch, but I'll let you know in a second. Thunder Punch is going to one-shot Gyarados. Executor, we can go for Ice Punch. It's going to be a 2-hit KO. It goes for Solar Beam, which means it does nothing on turn 1. And then Psychic against Arcanine, and you can see here that part of the reason Kanto is so annoying is even with the Mewtwo at minimal battles, I think we've had 3 optional trainers because some spin around and I just didn't bother, but the level curve for Blue and then Red, especially Red, is just absurd. We're going from about the same level as these trainers to soon nowhere close. But first, let's battle Blue again because I forgot I have to talk to Professor Oak first. And it's a range against Pidgeot. I'm not going to show this second. Oh, maybe we could. You could see that Alakazam just goes for Psychic. All right, we can speed up. We won again. It was slightly more annoying this time with Leech Seed. And so we actually could have theoretically lost. But 2 victories, this one's a little more But it really shows you that even when luck is not on my side at all, we win easily. But this is not my first run-in with Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal. A lot of runs go so smoothly up to this point, and then Red just walls the heck out of them. We have to deal with a Pikachu, Snorlax, Espeon, Charizard, Venusaur, Blastoise. Part of why I pick Gold, Silver as opposed to Crystal is we don't get access to Flamethrower, Thunderbolt, and Ice Beam, and I played Gold and Silver more as a kid. Not that it would matter for Mewtwo, because we didn't even get leftovers. That's how efficient we've been. We haven't done anything optional. We're just going from point A to point B. But if we can't beat Red with the moves we have and the level we're at, this would be devastating. As I saved before Red, we're at 5 hours and 16 minutes. Way ahead of anything else. But if we have to leave and come back, maybe add another half hour to that. Will it come to that? Only one way to find out. Alrighty, so against Pikachu, we go for Psychic, and we one-shot. That's excellent. Espeon, we have Shadow Ball from Morty, and it's going to be a 2-shot, but Espeon went for Reflect. That's not good because we miss with Dynamic Punch. We miss a second time. I mean, it's 50-50. We get paralyzed. And at the very least, we can see that with Reflect, it's doing about a quarter. So it may even be a 3-hit KO without. Let's see if we can get no Reflect. Take 2. Psychic knocks out Pikachu. Espeon, I forgot to teach Shadow Ball. So I go for Thunder Punch, and you can see it's not worth it. So we're going to have to teach Shadow Ball, but thankfully, we don't need Ice Punch anymore. The grass Pokemon Ivysaur is weak to Psychic anyway, making Psychic stronger, so we're just going to teach it and save, which I meant to do. We use Psychic, we knock out Pikachu. Espeon, Shadow Ball, super effective, no Reflect, Psychic, let's go. Alright, do we hit turn 1? We need to. We do. Did half, confused. Amnesia's fine. Ah, miss. Ah, Body Slam. Ah, miss. Alright. Take 3, not gonna be. Take 4. Psychic, we knock out Pikachu. Espeon, we go for Shadow Ball. Reflect. Still possible with a crit. Still get a crit. Snorlax, we hit. And we crit. It doesn't knock out Snorlax. Amnesia's fine. Psychic, no! And it doesn't hit itself in confusion. Ah. I miss with Dynamic Punch, and it hits itself in confusion. Reflect fades. So one more hit could do it. It snores, and we got really good Dynamic Punch luck. Or actually just slightly above average, I think. But good. Now, Thunder Punch on Charizard does half, paralyzes. GG. This is the moment I know I win. Blastoise loves to go for Rain Dance. That was a crit, yikes. You know what, guys? I don't know if we necessarily win. In future, I probably would have gotten the leftovers and that would have ensured it. But hey, a win's a win is a win. 4th try victory. And as I save, we can see 5 hours, 22 minutes, level 59 Mewtwo. A PB by 8 levels and over an hour and a half. I can tell you right now, not Ho-Oh, not Lugia, not Mew, not Celebi, not even Alakazam, nothing is coming close to how good Mewtwo is. Although, since Alakazam levels up faster, it may come close-ish, but this is going to be the undisputed king of Generation 2. And it's got me wondering whether Mewtwo is the king of every game, or whether there will be a game where something can dethrone Mewtwo. And I really think that's gonna happen in one of the games. And maybe if you guys want, if you ask for it, we can show you that run, where I'm almost positive Mewtwo will be closer to middle of the top, or maybe even in the 2nd tier. Gasp. Why? Only one way to find out. Like, subscribe. Once again, thanks to War Thunder for making this video possible. Check them out using the link in the description or pinned comment, and you'll get some awesome bonuses. Take care.